Let's continue. But there were other wonders to see. Satin sewn with real silver thread. She could see in the stalls the tin trays from Birmingham, a sari with the chips on it. Then she joined the crowd along a Kashmiri merchant who would go to bungalows to show the dawn-colored silks. See the beautiful image? Then he had got a little locked chest. Chest is the box, beautiful box with the beautiful gems, turquoise, opals, and even have a box with a bell tinkled. When you press it, a bell would tinkle and a yellow woolen chicken would jump out of it. So Sibia knew that there was no end to the wonders of the world. But what about Sibia's life? Sibia in all her life was from birth to death marked for work. This is again important. She was made to work. She could toddle when she could toddle. Since then, she had husked corn. See the task that she had been doing. Gathering sticks, put dung to dry, cooked, weeded, carried, fetched water and cut grass for fodder. So along with this, now we can say the story starts with part 3. So we can divide the story into now, as I told you, for studying the story can be divided into different parts. So here starts part 3. She was going with her mother. Another task that Sibia is going to do. Where is she going? She is going with other women to get paper grass from the cliffs above the river. There are small hills and pointed hills, and there is paper grass, and we have already the mention of the mill. This mill is a paper mill which requires paper grass for making paper. So Sibia, along with the women, all the women of the village, she is going to get that grass. And when they would have enough, what would happen to this grass? They would get it back down by bullock cart to the rail head, and then it would be sold to the agent. But agent would do no work. He would arrange just to dispatch the paper to the paper mill, this grass to paper mill, and the woman would toil all day. But agent would sat on silk cushions smoking a hookah. But these thoughts never occurred to Sibia. It never troubled Sibia. Why? She had those girlish instincts still, and she would skip along with the having sickle and homemade hay fork that she was carrying to get the grass. And she said she has given the reason for skipping. She said you can skip while going up, and coming back you would be having the heavy burden of the grass and there would be tiredness, so she will not be able to skip at that time. Next page we have the description of the women. They were wearing necklaces made up of lal beejes, again Hindi word. Shining scarlet seeds which are grown in the jungle everywhere. Sibia wanted to make one, but she cannot. She loved the swish around her neck, having those necklaces, but she had no red needle to make it red hot and drill the seeds to turn them into necklaces. But the family needle was snapped, and so she must wait till they could buy another one. Oh, see the longing she has for the string and even for the glass beads. And even for anklets, for earrings, for nose rings, bangles, all the gorgeous damsels of the bazaar, all her little golden body decorated. She longs for this. The women, they are chattering, they are talking, and they followed the dusky track toward the river. On their way, they passed a Gujjar encampment. So the story has a little shift. We have the description of the Gujjar encampment, which is made up of grass huts, and the description of nomadic Gujjars now. They are nomadic in nature. They would stay here till what time? They would stay until they are able to sell enough of the white butter, or even the white milk is finished, or there was no one to buy the young male buffaloes for tiger bait. Till that time they will stay there, and otherwise they would just go away from there or to find another place to live. Or perhaps a cattle-killing tiger was making a nuisance of himself. This is another reason given why they would move away from this camp. Sibia glanced at the Gujjar women. Beautiful image of Gujjar women artistically portrayed by Nora Burke. They wore trousers tied wrinkled at the ankles. In the large ear, in their ear there was large silver ring made out of melted rupees, and one of them was clinking a stick against the big brass ghada. Ghadas, again Hindi word for the pot. Fetched water from the river to see which ones were empty. Men and boys, what about them? They had gone to the bazaar to sell produce, but 1 or 2 buffaloes were standing about. And buffaloes, another description we have of the buffaloes. They are creatures of great wet noses and moving jaws and gaunt black bones. And what about these Gujars? The Gujars were junglis, as was Sibya, it is told, because they lived in jungle, born and bred in jungle. So they had these tendencies or the inborn characteristic trait of junglis. For countless centuries they've been living here, their forefathers had been living here, and they're getting their living from animals and from the grass, trees, as they scratch their food together, stored in substances. So it's been told that they were man in the wandering pastoral age, but they are not like Stone Age hunters, and they are not yet cultivators. They are in mid ages somewhere. And now the story continued. So just a little hot for the description of the Gujars, and now we have the story continuation where they are now crossing the river, which is twinkling between the trees. Again, a beautiful image we have here, auditory image we have of the rushing of the river. The women came out of the shore, made for the stepping stones. There's laugh, there's bickering, noisy crowd, and they all girded up their skirts to jump from stones to stone, clanking their sickles, and folk clanged again the sound imagery. Together with their shoulders to have ease of movement, they shouted. So we have again the sounds, and noise frightens crocodiles. The big mugger, which are frightening themselves, they are frightened by the women. And then these women climbed the hillside, and they went to the hill to get the grass. When they are uphill, what is the scenery below? Down below them ran the broad river. Again the image of the scenery below, pouring powerfully from the deep narrow pools and then spreading into warm shallows, lit by kingfishers. The birds are there, great turtles are there, mahasids are there, crocodiles are there. And sometimes you could see them lying on those slabs of clay over there, but there were none to be seen at the moment. Probably they are frightened by the chattering sound or the noise of these women passing by. Where Sibya was working now on the hill cutting the grass, there was wind coming, and she loved the wind. It was cooling her sweating body, and she went into the realm of imagination. Because she's a young girl, she started imagining as if she were a bird, as if what would have happened. Then she did not dare to stop for a moment, but now her imagination also is taking a leap. In her imagination, she found herself swooping in the flight over the bright water, golden air, to the banks where she had played as a child. On one hand, she is working there, cutting the grass, but in her imagination, she is a bird flying. So she has a strong imagination, but because she is under observation from her mother, she cannot stop the work, and she has to continue cutting the grass. Then in those cavelets are the small caves. Those were there high above the high waters. Now she is still a small child. She has that small child in her. She had made some clay balls, and she has stored them, which are molded of clay. She had stored them somewhere in those cavelets. And if there were anything that could be used for coloring, they would look fine, painted with marigolds and elephants. Child, the mother called her, and she was startled, and the sharp voice, the glare of her mother's anger, pulled Sibya back to work, and they toiled on. So children, till here we stop now, because next part will be the ending of it, where they are about to go back to their village.